Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Expatriate channel. While planning your relocation to any country, you should always consider the cost of living there. Today, it's all about the money. Those of you who are thinking about moving to Germany, I'm sure this video will help you a lot, because today I will be talking about the costs of life in Germany. Keep watching to learn what to expect after you move here. I will also share some useful money-saving tips at the very end. Despite the fact that it's one of the richest countries in the world, living expenses in Germany are not as high as you would expect. In fact, it is ranked only 15th in the world, which means it's cheaper than the UK, Italy, Denmark, Norway, France or the Netherlands. Is Germany expensive? Generally speaking, Germany is not considered expensive, especially when compared to the average cost of living in Europe. Although there are always exceptions to this, and your budget will hugely depend on the city that you live in and your lifestyle. Let's say if you are looking for a studio apartment in the center of Munich, you will see your budget be eaten up more quickly than if you were looking to live in a small town in a Wohngemeinschaft, also known as a WG or Flatshare in English. If you are a student, you can search for student accommodation in your Expatrio user portal, where we provide an aggregated overview of vacancies. What is the cost of living in Germany? Putting some specific numbers behind these words, I can say that if you are not a student, it would be hard to get by for less than 1,000 euros a month in Germany. And this rises to around 1,500 to 2,000 in the big cities where rental costs are higher. The average monthly living expense in Germany for non-students is around 1,200, but there are many factors which can affect this. When it comes to students, they can usually cover living costs with around 850 euros a month because of various students' discounts and lower prices for student dormitories or WGs. Usually, the living expenses are also reflected in the required amount you need to have on your blocked account when applying for your German student visa, which means that the government has researched and calculated this amount to be enough for a student to cover all the main expenses, and that is the number that you should always trust. Still, in a survey, we found out that in big cities, but also in student hubs in smaller cities, the expenses will be higher, so you should always calculate a buffer. How do the costs come together? If you're curious to see an actual breakdown of all the main costs that make up the average amount I was talking about, let's have a look. The cost of rent would normally vary from 300 euros if you live in a student hall or a shared flat till over 700 if you rent a studio in a big city. On average, the utilities would cost about 2,000, including the internet, mobile fees and TV. The cost of monthly transport would be about 60 euro if you live in an expensive city and zero if you live in a cheap city. An expensive city would, for example, be Frankfurt am Main. The groceries would cost you about 150 to 200 euros per month. If you want to learn more about food shopping in Germany, you must check out our video dedicated to that very topic, and the link is here below. You can find it easily. Being a university student, you would pay around 100 euro for your public health insurance. For employed people, that would be way more, I have to say. On average, the cost of health insurance for an employee in Germany is around 400 to 700 euros per month, which will be partially covered by your employer and will be deducted automatically from your gross paycheck. When it comes to going out, these expenses are hugely dependent on your lifestyle. But in general, that should be around 50 euros to 150 euros per month. Taking all that together, you would spend around 850 to 1,500 euros per month. But how much would it cost to move to Germany? Good to remember is that those who plan on relocating to Germany will need to factor in more than just the monthly costs at first. To rent an apartment, you are normally required to pay a deposit in advance, which is 2 or 3 months cold rent, which is Kaltmiete, and that means the base rent without utilities and extra bills. Also, don't forget about the cost you will need to pay for your tickets to Germany, as well as moving services and rental administration fees. The cheapest and most expensive cities in Germany, very important. Like I've already said, the city you live in plays a massive role in defining your monthly living costs. So let's discuss some of the cheapest and most expensive cities in Germany. Talking about the biggest German cities, surprisingly enough, Berlin still comes as one of the cheapest, even despite being the capital. It's little wonder that Berlin became increasingly popular with those moving to Germany, but prices will likely change in the near future. There are a few cities that are comparable to or even cheaper than Berlin, for example, Leipzig, Bochum and Kiel, where one-bed flats can, with some luck and searching, be found at around 500 euros per month. Munich is typically thought of as the most expensive city in Germany, followed closely by Frankfurt, Stuttgart and Heidelberg. The most expensive factor in living in one of these cities is the rental prices. If you can find a house share for a property on the outskirts of the city, you should be able to save a significant amount of money on living costs, because otherwise the average price for a one-bed flat can be around 800 euros. These are tips for saving money in Germany. Now we are approaching one of the most exciting parts of the video, as I will be sharing 5 tips on how to save money in Germany. My first advice is connected to the flat sharing, because sharing accommodation with others is much cheaper than renting your own apartment. Finding a single room in a house or flat can see you save hundreds of euros every month. If you're planning on studying in Germany, the cheapest accommodation will almost always be student accommodation in student dormitories, usually organized by universities or the General Student Committees, in brief AStA. Student rent is lower than the average at about 300 euros a month. Another point to consider is student discounts. Students can get excellent discounts in all kinds of places like restaurants, cinemas, clothes shops, so make sure you have your student ID on you at all times to take advantage of this. Students under 27 can buy a Bahncard 50 card to get a 50% discount on rail and some bus travel. You should also find a university that offers a free travel card as part of your semester, potentially saving you up to 100 euros a month. Grocery shopping takes up a big part of anyone's budget. Therefore, it is important to shop smartly. For example, by using discount supermarkets. Germany is the world leader in discount supermarkets, having been the birthplace of Lidl and Aldi. You find that these national favorites are everywhere around the corner, in major cities and in the countryside and small towns. This was all for today. I hope the big money issue won't be a problem for you. I thank you so much for watching. I wish you so much good luck with saving the cash. And if you have any questions, comments, anything to say, feel free to do it under here. Thank you and see you next time.